Hello, everybody. How are you? All right, I am so stoked to talk to you about what I'm going to talk to you about today. And it has nothing to do with what I said I was going to talk to you about today. So, the reason for that is because COPA has had lots of discussions with us advocates, and some things have come out, and I am going to go over it with you. I think it's amazing, and it validates everything I have been telling you guys, and now it is out there, and I'm going to help you guys step by step throughout this whole process. And with COVID, and the meaning of what that means for you when it comes to your IEP is really important, okay? And believe it or not, things have not changed. And that's the wonderful thing about IDEA and the federal law. What is changing a little bit is how difficult the schools are now going to be because they know that the law hasn't changed. So they're going to challenge parents who may not at this time know all the laws and what their rights are. So that's my job to teach you guys that, okay? So before I get started, I'm really excited about this, guys. So the first thing I want you to do, and before I even introduce myself, I want you guys to share this. Here's my hat. Every month, at the end of the month, I put names in my hat. And I give out gifts at the end of every month. Okay, so if you share, your name will go into the hat. All right, so all you have to do is share and then put share in the comment section. And let me tell you something. If I give you any advice, even if it's just a little bit, or if you think it would help somebody else, share it, because you never know who's out there who just doesn't have access to help, or someone in their town or someone in their area. And I do what I do because I want kids to really have everything that they need in the educational setting, and for parents to know their rights. I went through 6.5 years of what I call hell, of just not knowing. And I'm an educator, I'm a teacher, and I haven't taught for years. I've been doing this. But my daughter's a teacher, and, I know all the laws and intricacies of special education, along with being a parent of a child on the spectrum. So, it is so important to not make the mistakes that I made. And then now we have this coronavirus thing going on, and there's new things that are just going into play, and how, and really going into play on how the school system is treating you and how they're going about things so that you feel as if things are changing, or the laws have changed, or they don't have to do certain things. So I don't want you to feel that way. So my name is Raven Woods, and I'm the CEO and founder of Autism Mama Rocks the IEP, and I truly help parents become knowledgeable and become those CEOs of that IEP meeting and the CEO of their IEP meeting. And when I say that every time I say that, I tell you guys, I mean it. I mean, you run the meeting, and it's not a control thing. It's more running the meeting so that you, the parent, feel comfortable. There's a knowledge base there. You feel as if you are coming together and you're going through each person in a way that is very productive. Okay. And in my course, I teach parents how to PPPN, which is plan and prepare, present, persuade, and negotiate. So if you plan and prepare right, you can present, right? And then you can definitely, if you present properly, you're going to persuade them, and negotiate only if you have to. So that's what I teach in my course. So I see you guys hopping on. Give me a second. So if you're new to watching me live, okay, post a 1 below, and that's your first through third time. All right. So I want you to post a 1 below. Put yourself out there. We want to get to know you, and post a 1 below. If you're an oldie but goodie, you guys know what to do. Post a 2 below. And everybody, make sure you click notifications so that you know when I go live. And if you haven't joined the group, it's Autism Mama Rocks the IEP group. You can put that in the search bar and check it out. All right, so I do a lot of Q&As in the group, so it's a very casual atmosphere, and you literally, the the ball is in your court where you get to ask as many questions as possible. All right. Hi, guys. How are you? Michelle and Teresa. Thank you, Teresa. Kim. Hey, girl. How are you? Lynn. She says she's shared. I hope this can help at least one person. Me too. Marlene. How are you? How are you? You're two now. Woohoo. That's awesome. Renita shared. Thank you. Kim shared. I have been telling anyone about this page that Raven is amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Michelle shared. Ashley, welcome. Thank you for coming on. And Melissa and Lorena, hello, hello, hello. And we have Gina, welcome. And Linda, hello, hello. All right. Did I miss anybody? Ashley, did I miss you? Ashley, welcome. Okay. And Viviana, welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. So I got my paper with me. I'm going over this with you. All right. And I didn't write this, but I love the fact that it validates what I said, because I am no know-it-all and I don't know everything. And if I don't know it, many of you who know me really well know I'm going to find out the answer. So I want you guys to hear me here, because this is the truth. Okay. This is like the IEP Bible that we need to go by right now. Okay. So first, okay, so school year's getting started, right? And everything's getting underway, all right? And the laws surrounding IEPs remains unchanged, okay? So experts are saying, all right, that parents, including me as an expert, I've told you guys, fight for the services for your kids. So this is validating what I said, all right? So while details may remain different because of COVID, so you may have at home versus school, or you may have a hybrid situation, IEP meetings still will occur virtually, which I like those better anyway. And COPA has told us and informed us that advocates like myself are helping parents, really understand their rights. Okay. So I'm a member of COPA, which is a amazing nonprofit that not only trains advocates, but is just our knowledge base. We're able to talk with attorneys and other advocates and so forth. And there's people out there that shouldn't be advocates. And you got your really good ones as well. So it's one of those things where it's just an amazing, amazing resource. Okay. And so it goes on to say that they're reminding parents that the whole concept of the IEP is that services for students with disabilities should be individualized. How many times do I preach this to you guys, right? It has to be individualized to your child's unique needs. It doesn't matter if COVID is happening at all. They have to meet your child's individual needs. If it says in your IEP that you receive speech 3 times a week, they have to figure it out. Period. They cannot say to you, oh, because it's at home, we don't have to provide that, or we don't have the people and the staff to provide it. They can't say that. They have to figure it out, and they have to provide your child what is in their IEP. And, okay, don't think that if your child needs something that you shouldn't ask. You should, and fight them for the service that your child needs, because they're going to say no more right now, because it is true that the staff are quitting, teachers are quitting. And so things are getting, really heightened in that area. But the problem too is the schools are going to start saying no. You're going to hear it a lot. All right. I talk about a lot, when COVID was not happening, where you have that one person in the IEP meeting that is your no person. All right. The one person that always says no. Now you're getting it across the board, because everything that's going on, and as many parents that are asking for services to be provided for their children, it's getting to be a lot on the schools. But it's one of those things where even though I feel for them, I feel for teachers, I feel for everything going on in the school, at the end of the day, it's about my child, period. Okay? So it's one of those things where I get it's tough. I get you have a lot on your plate. However, my kid has to come first. And that's what you have to keep at the forefront. All right? So the IEP team should consider your child's present levels of performance, of course, and the needs and goals and how to meet them before making any determination of placement. All right? So if school is open and you, the parent, are okay with them going to school, then I suggest that that is the better fit than at home for many of our students. And that is if you feel comfortable. All right. But a lot of schools are doing that whole, hey, you know, if your child is more severe, we'll take them. And if they're not, then we won't. And, you know, I've said that they're really looking at a lawsuit getting ready to happen there because it's kind of a little bit of a discrimination, saying that one student needs it more than the other. You know, it's kind of like looking at things as if, you know, okay, a student has 50 different disabilities and then another student has one. Guess what? The one with 50 could possibly not qualify for special ed, but the one with one could. So it's kind of one of those things where it's really difficult to say, okay, you do, but you don't. So, you know, in the grand scheme of things, you have to think only for your child. Okay. Each of us are thinking about our own children and you have to stay focused on that. Do not accept the no's. If they say no, you got to have an immediate comeback for that with objective data. All right. We're going to get there. All right. And I see you guys posting, so I'm going to get to you. Okay. Post a 1 below if you're new, your first through third time. Post a 2 below if you're an oldie but goodie. Make sure you click notifications and share. People are going to want to hear this. And if you can just help one person, give them a little bit of knowledge and hope and support in this situation, that would be wonderful. Make sure to post that you shared, and I promise to put your name in the hat at the end of the month so that you can possibly win the gifts of the month. And I give out multiple gifts, not just one. Okay. So in hearing about many districts, all right, that are calling parents up and saying, all the students with disabilities are going back to school 5 days a week. That's contrary to the law making blanket placements decisions based on the disability category. Okay, so the decision about services and where they're going to take place should be the last part of the process. Okay. So parents should request IEP meetings if some services have to be modified due to the coronavirus, agreeing to 2 days a week of virtual instruction, for example, details that arrangement should be included in an addendum, all right, to the IEP along with the date or juncture, all right, at which the adjustment will be reviewed again. Okay, does that make sense? So that's important. So if you are given speech, all right, and you're agreeing to 2 days a week, then you're okay with virtual, then be okay with that. Put it in an addendum that you agree to virtual speech for 2 days a week, all right? And that's just an attachment to your IEP, and have an end date. It must have an end date. Okay, I've suggested to everybody, do it in 90-day increments, all right? So another thing that is important is if your school gives you a choice of in school or at home, always choose in school, even if you're not sure, okay? Because if you choose home, you don't get to change your mind. If you choose school, you get to change your mind, okay? All right, so another consideration for IEP teams is how school closures in the spring affected your child, all right? So if students were not provided services, if there was regression or failure to make progress, then you should be looking at additional services that might be needed for them. All right. You can call it compensatory services. You can call it whatever you want, but they need more services if there was regression, lack of progress, and those things were not provided to your child during that springtime, March, April, May timeframe, and they need that extra help. It's like an ESY, if you will. All right. So the IEP allows parents to seek compensatory services if their child with disabilities do not receive FAPE. All right. That's free, appropriate public education. All right. And they're entitled to. They're entitled to get compensatory services. The school system will tell you they are not, or we have to look and see and make a decision as a team to see if your child qualifies. Here's the thing, guys, is how are they going to make a decision as a team when they haven't seen your child in 6 months? You have. You actually get the right and have the decision-making progress here and process here and the allowance to make this decision. I kind of said that all jacked up. All right, so what I'm saying is you are the person that gets to tell them data. Whether that, if you guys did my my data information thing with COVID over on the group, it was basically record your child, write everything down, email the school system every week. And this is your data. And the only person who can provide data right now, today, and your child's present levels is you. That's why so many kids are going back to school. And when I get a hold of my parents' IEPs and all my clients, and the first thing we ask for is the scholastic record and a whole bunch of tests in reference to what your child should be tested for. All right. And I'm fighting for my clients and have gotten it each and every time. Thank God so far. Because they have fought me and they've asked me, well, why are you asking for this test? Why are you asking for that test? And that's because I'm asking for very specific, comprehensive assessments. All right. And they're comprehensive assessments aside from the Wyatt, okay, and the other tests that are standardized. They're given across the board in all school systems, and they don't give you a good look and picture in certain areas of your child's education and where they are. So for example, for reading, it's kind of like a roundabout area of reading versus focused on like phonological processing and certain areas. Or if your child really struggles in math, there's certain assessments that can be given for that. There's auditory processing assessments. There's so many different adaptive assessments, obviously behavior assessments. There's so many different assessments, and it has to pertain to your child and their individual needs. And that is so, so, so important. So I'm asking for a gamut of assessments that they're not used to giving. And so I think it's awesome because they're giving them. And I'm saying to them that you have not seen this child in 6 months. You have no right to even bring that student into the school system without starting an evaluation, because you have no idea where their present levels are. And 6 months have passed since you have even set sight on this student. So at this time, you have to do an evaluation so that you can come up with what's called an appropriate IEP. And I say it just like that because they know that legally speaking, they have to have an appropriate IEP in reference to your child's individual and unique needs. They can't do that having not seen your child in 6 months. Okay? So moving on, the IEP allows you to seek those compensatory services. And there's an attorney that actually specializes in representing students with autism and other developmental disabilities. And he's authored a new book, okay, that actually talks about COVID-19 and recommends parents remind schools of this now, okay? And it's important because COVID has impacted our kids. It's impacted us, okay? And this means students need to get back the services that they need. They need the services added on as compensatory to get back on track of where they need to be, or at least where they left off. And they shouldn't have to wait for the pandemic to end to seek compensatory services. That should not happen. Okay? So I'm going to take a minute and I'm going to say hi to you guys. All right. So, hi guys. Hi. Okay. So we have Nan, welcome. Larissa, hello, hello. And Jessica. Jessica says, our school here lacked my son's IEP. It needs last few months. I did not receive barely anything from spring, summer, and could not get a hold of my son's speech. I'm still in the process of a lawyer right now because of this and other reasons the school is not providing. Gotcha. Hi, Leanne. How are you? Lynn, hello, hello. Gina says, I didn't like the plan for his online, so switched him to actual online school that he knows what they're doing. Very cool. Thank you for sharing, Leanna. Hello, DeFranco, Anthony, Hope. Is that like a whole name or is that like two separate people? That's pretty cool. Okay, so thank you for sharing, Jessica and Lorena. Pam, thank you, thank you. Marlene, thank you. I appreciate that. All right, guys. So I have Alam on here. And Brittany, hey, long time. Hey, Cynthia, how are you? And Misty, Lynn says, fought for 3 years for an IEP and finally got one. He still needs testing, but it's a step forward. That's right. It is a step forward. That's right. And we always have to celebrate the wins, right? Hi, moved to a new town and they chopped down his services. Well, that's not appropriate, Liz. And they shouldn't have cut down his services, especially if he just got there and don't really know who he is. And especially with COVID, that's a little questioning and surprising because going to a new school in a new place and then with COVID going on, them not knowing your child at all and then cutting services, I'd have a serious problem with that. So I hope that you are on it. Okay, husband and myself. Okay, so what is your name and your husband? So I know. So Myrna, hello, hello. Brittany says, just got my boy back in school. Just started last week. All right. Okay, awesome, awesome. Cool, you got information. Yeah, I gotta still read that email. All right, guys. So let's continue. All right, so yes, post a 1 below if you're new. That's your first through third time. 2 below if you're an oldie but goodie. And make sure you share this because it's going to be good information for others. And hopefully it helps somebody out there that may not know what to do, you know. Mine is Hope, husband is Anthony. Okay, perfect. All right. So let's move on. So parents, this is what it continues to say, and this is so true. Parents are often too nice to administrators, all right? And they let them off the hook too easily with services that can actually be offered remotely, all right? And may need just certain little tweaks for it to happen, all right? And someone actually indicated that it's important to put any request in writing, and you guys know this because I preach it and preach it and preach it, is if it's not in writing, it never happened, okay? And same with in COVID, if it wasn't on video, it never happened, okay? So, don't be too nice. I'm not nice at all, but you guys cannot be too nice. You know, I talked about, you know, you either have to choose. You either want to be friends or you want to advocate. You have to pick one. You can't do both, okay? It's a business relationship. You're not friends, all right? So as long as you have that line drawn, then you will be able to function more appropriately. And what I mean by that is so many of us, including myself with my own child, okay, we get so emotionally involved. And when you get emotionally involved, because there are children, right, our emotion takes over, all right? And we start rambling and we start running at the mouth, and we can just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk because it's all out there and we just want to spill it and throw up. And, you know, when we do that, objective data never comes out. All right. And everything that we really want to say doesn't come out. And then we leave that meeting thinking, I forgot to say this and this and this and this, and really get your point across the way you know you wanted to. And it just didn't come out that way. And so if we plan and prepare in the right way, we're able to then present what it is we really need to present in the right way, not looking at the things that are unimportant. Okay? So in addition to academics, IEPs should still include transition services for our older students transitioning into middle school or transitioning from middle school to high school, all right, as well as goals pertinent to activities of daily living. This is so important, all right? Daily living is part of the IEP, all right? It doesn't have to be a goal about an academic. It can be a goal in reference to daily living, all right? So that's important, which may need to be updated, address mask wearing, social distancing, and other elements of what's going on today in current events and in today's environment. All right, so these are things that our kids can learn. It's part of daily living. So this is something that you can add to your students' IEP. All right. So another thing is the United States Department of Education in DC has declined to seek any meaningful modifications to IDEA as a result of COVID. All right. So despite the significant impact on schools and pressure from groups representing school administrators, relax. Okay. IDEA is in play and nothing is hindering it at all. Okay. So that is a good thing. All right. So while the department has provided extensive flexibility to the schools, all right. So I'll just give an example. In due process, I went to due process with a client, and things can be prolonged a little bit. You know, extensions can be made and accepted. Little things like that. All right. That can be requested. If you make a state complaint, you know, an extension can be requested, that sort of thing. But it's not an extensive thing. It's just an extension up to 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Okay. No more than that. I've actually not heard of anything more than 2 weeks as of recent. All right. So, flexibility is given. All right. And there's no reason Congress is going to waive any provision designed to keep students from learning. So everything's going to stay the same, other than certain things are going to be given just an extension. All right. And that is direct from Secretary DeVos. All right. So she also says, this is quoted, with integrity, innovation, and grit, I know this nation's educators and schools can continue to faithfully educate every one of its students. All right. So she is honestly on our side. And none of us had, honestly, the faith in her in the beginning. She surprised many of us. Now, us COPA members, we sent hundreds and thousands of letters. I reached out to all of you, and I know many of you wrote letters to the secretary, and we got out our thoughts and how this would impact our children, and we won. So we won the fact that nothing's going to change, that all these provisions that the school systems thought that they were going to get from the Department of Education, they didn't get at all. So this is awesome for us and for our children. Now it just depends on you to fight for the services, accommodations, modifications that your children so desperately need right now. Okay. The agency issued a series of guidance documents designed to help schools navigate closures, including specifics on dispute resolutions, how IDEA funds can be used. And just so you know, all school systems have received extra funding for COVID. All right? Extra federal funding for COVID. So don't let them BS you in, oh, we can't bring a BCBA on to do XYZ, or we can't, provide this or that. Okay. They have extra funding specific to anything pertaining to the result of COVID. All right. So this is for them to spend that money on our children and whatever is needed to accommodate them in the right way. Okay. And I'm a stickler on this. And I have no problems going head to head with administrators. I did it today, and I will do it every single day if needed. All right. I have no problems whatsoever going head to head. I had a psychologist. Okay, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to take a break. Hopefully you guys stay on with me. I have about just 2 more pages, y'all. 2 more pages. All right, so listen to this story. It's funny. All right, so I was in an IEP this morning. It was kind of a secondary IEP to the main IEP because this one was in reference to all those evaluations I was asking for this student. Well, there was a psychologist that ended up coming on board to this meeting, which, mind you, they didn't tell us that new people were going to be at the IEP meeting, which is not allowed, by the way. But anyway, this extra psychologist was there who was not at the IEP meeting. And I was fighting for specific assessments. And I was also fighting the fact that they were asking medical information in regards to the student that I am representing. I represent the student. I talk with the parent. Okay? And so they were going through this list of 50 million questions for this parent. All right? And it's questions they could have answered. And if they needed the parent to ask all these questions to the parent, they could have easily sent them something. So instead, they want to keep us on there asking these stupid, tedious questions. And a lot of them had to do with in-depth medical information. And I finally stopped them and I said, you know what? We're not going to answer any more questions today. So if we're going to proceed on and move on to talking about evaluations and what evaluations are going to be put into the consent for the parent to then sign, then we need to just call it a day. And we'll go about this another way. Because mind you, at this same IEP last week, I told them if they didn't do XYZ, I would have no problem depositioning each and every one of them and taking that school system to due process with the parent. So I said to them today, I said, we're not going to talk about medical information. The parent doesn't have to talk about medical information with you. It's actually none of your business what the medical information and background is. The only thing that is the school's business in reference to medical issues or medical things or medicine or treatment, etc., is simply what affects that student in the educational setting. So for example, if your child is on medication and the nurse gives your child medication, then obviously the school needs a signed consent on the child gets medication at 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. Okay? That's all they need to know. And they need to know that the medication is given for seizures or behavior or whatever the case may be. All right. If your child has, a disability, they can know the disability, but they don't need to know the history and the medical background of that. All right. I find that very invading of one's privacy and is not going to affect how education is given. So why do we need to go into depth on medical issues when that's not their business? All right. So again, if it affects them in the educational setting, you can be open and answer certain questions, but don't feel obligated even though they will ask them. The other thing that this school system asked the parent to do was the service providers sent home an email asking, and this is Tennessee, guys, okay? So they asked the parent to have the doctor sign that OT, speech, etc. were medically requested for the OT and speech therapist to provide treatment. And that is what they said. I said, well, you guys don't treat children. Why would the parents have the doctor sign that you're going to treat them? And the director of special education, you want to know what she said? She said, oh, I'm going to have to go find that out. Because I told her, I said, we're not giving you medical information. We're not getting you a script that you're going to provide OT, speech, etc. in the educational setting. That's unheard of. You don't have to do that. So she actually had no idea that that wasn't appropriate. So, and then the psychologist wants to chime in and say, oh, this is a federal law. We have to ask these questions. I said, that's interesting if that's a federal law, because it's not done in Virginia or New York or California or Florida or Texas. And she didn't say anything. All right. So let's see who's here. All right. I believe William Penn School District failed my son. Oh, where's that at? So we have, I need this info. We started school today and I finally got a hold of staff and have an IEP scheduled for the first week of November. Awesome. Ashley says the information you're reading available to the lay person. Liz seems high functioning. Kids get back to burner. I'll post the information for y'all. I wasn't nice at the end either. Jessica. Hi, Misty. How are you? Welcome. Hey, Cheryl. How are ya? Is that Betsy? Who's Betsy? Cheryl says, yep. I don't know what y'all are talking about. Y'all are probably talking amongst each other. Viviana says, my son began middle school and as of now will only be Zooming Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That isn't sufficient hours of academic for my child. His IEP states hours from Monday through Friday. I haven't signed the IEP. We'll talk to you tomorrow. A little more about this. Yes, definitely. Liz okay, I guess you tagged somebody. Hi, Melissa. My son is high functioning and I have reached out to the school he attended last year in special education, and I just kept getting passed around. Email this person, call this person. Okay, so you need to go directly to the director of special education. If she does not effectively answer your questions or address anything, then go straight to the superintendent. So you got to stop playing games with what I call the little people. And no offense to anybody out there, okay? But you guys got to stop playing with the little people, okay? You got to go straight to the director of special ed. Here's what I do to get reactions, okay? When I send an email to the team and the director of special education. If the director of special education doesn't message back, I mean, I usually get pretty quick responses, but then I will add the superintendent, and then things happen pretty quickly. Because what happens is when you add a superintendent, or if you didn't add the director of special education and then you do, then what happens is the one pushes it on to the other. So if you go to the superintendent calls this director of special ed and says, hey, why is this parent messaging me? You need to be on this. And if you message the director of special ed, she's going to go after, who's in charge and who your case manager is. Why aren't you addressing this? Why aren't you on top of this? Or even going after the principal. So it's kind of funny how it's a downward spiral. So don't start here, start up here. Let it go and flow, and then you get your answers answered. So stop playing with the little people, go to the big people and get things done, okay? Do not fall for when they want to call you and you get real pissed off. They know you're pissed off and they call you and they say, hey, what can we do to help you? We want to help you. We really care about your son. We really care about what's going on. What is it that we need to do? That is a game, guys. Don't fall for it. It's a game, okay? That is their way of kind of surpassing what's really going on, calming you down to give them more time to deal with other things, okay? So you don't want to alleviate the pressure because they call you and basically pat you on the back and say, it's okay, just calm down. Don't worry about it. We got you. Don't fall for that, okay? Don't. And one thing that I've seen a lot in the last 2 weeks, and I've had 10 IEPs in the last 2 weeks. And one thing that I have seen happen is I will ask a direct question. I'm a direct question kind of person, all right? I don't skate around it. I ask the direct question straight to whoever it is that I want to ask. And I expect an answer. I don't expect we're going to get back to that. We're going to get to that. I promise we're going to cover that, but we need to address this first, and then we're going to come back to that. Nope, nope, and nope. We're going to address it right now because I asked it right now. I'm not going to address it in 15 minutes. I'm addressing it right here, right now. So if you guys want to keep this IEP moving and not waste anybody else's time, then I suggest we answer this question right now because I'm asking it right now. I'm not asking it in 15 minutes. I'm asking it now. And I say it just like that because what they're trying to do is make you forget. Then you move on to other things and you forget to come back to that question that was important to you. So don't let them do that. They'll say, we're going to come back to that, or they'll skate around it and not directly answer your question. It drives me crazy. And they do it all the time. They bypass your question, ignore what you have to say, semi-answer it to where and it's a brain thing, guys, all right? It's one of those things where they process and process and process, and you're trying to think, oh, okay, she covered it. Even though you're not kind of secure about it, but they keep moving, so you don't have a chance to digest what's happening, all right? So, and they do this all the time across the board. So you ask a question, they semi-answer it, and then they say, well, we're going to come back to that. And then they move on to something else quickly. And then they keep going on and on and on. And your question that you asked that was probably really important that you really wanted to ask is bypassed. And then by the end of the IEP, you're walking out of the IEP or you're leaving the Zoom meeting and you're thinking how your question didn't get answered and you didn't process it the way you should have. And if you don't process something, you ask more questions. I have no problem saying, explain that to me. How does that look to you? What is it that you see coming out of this? How do you see progress? What is it that you're going to do to make sure that this student makes progress? So I ask tons of questions and I expect direct answers. Okay? Let's finish up this and then I'm going to get with you guys. Okay. So let's finish this up. So we just talked about the Department of Education. Okay. And we talked about DeVos and how she did not change anything with IDEA. All right. So it goes on to talk about how you are too nice to administrators. And then we spoke about academics, and we're going to move on and talk about this even more. So transition services are still included in your child's IEP, even though you're going through COVID. All right. Transition services are very, very important. Okay. All right. So to date, the Department of Education has declined any meaningful modifications to IDEA. Keep that in mind. Okay. Someone just gave me like a mad face. That's so funny. Sorry. It's too funny. All right. So, while the department has provided extensive flexibility to help schools transition, there is no reason for Congress to waive any provision designed to keep students from learning. Okay? So the secretary states that in the spring, this transpired, everything with COVID, and that school systems now owe students compensatory services if that's what's going to meet their individual needs. Okay? So make sure that that is handled. All right? If you need help, let me know. All right. So while the department has provided extensive flexibility, remember, it's only to give extra time to address things. All right? That's it. The agency has ensured a series of guidance documents designed to help schools navigate closures and specifics in reference to disputes and other things. and making sure that evaluations are happening for children with disabilities. A letter was put out with OSEP guys, and I've argued this in many IEP meetings, because they'll say, well, we don't have that availability right now because of COVID, or we don't have teachers in here right now, when you're asking for an evaluation. Well, that's fine. That's fine that they don't have anybody there right now. That's understandable. The school's not open, or, if your school's not open, obviously, and you're doing virtual. Well, evaluations still have to take place. So if the school can't do them, then OSEP put out a letter that is allowing school systems to change, because there's a specific way of doing things. Typically, if you don't want to pay for the independent evaluation on your own, which I always kind of suggest, but if you don't want to do that, especially with some of the high-end evaluations, then you go to the school, you get a full evaluation, and then you just disagree. Even if you think it's correct and accurate, disagree anyway, just to get an IEE. All right? Then you get an IEE, and then you can combine the two evaluation and assessments, or however many there are, and then you can see the difference, or if there was a bias, or if there wasn't. Okay? So it's important to understand that with the COVID going on, the schools need to allow more IEEs if they cannot provide them themselves. So in some of the IEPs I've done, I've said, well, if you can't provide it, then you need to provide an IEE for this student in regards to this assessment, because you obviously can't provide it yourselves. And this student needs the evaluation. You all don't know his present levels. We don't know his present levels. And that's what needs to be found so that he can have appropriate goals. So then all of a sudden, they came out and said, oh, we'll find somebody. We're going to be talking to somebody and contracting with somebody. So don't let certain things be said and you just accept that answer. All right? If you have just that inkling, all right, of this doesn't sound right, then you need to say something along the lines of, oh, well, can you show me the policy where that states that? Or just question it. Even if you don't know, question it anyway as if they're wrong, to see if they really are, to see if it comes out. All right? So sometimes if you just don't know, play with it a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that. And see if your gut is right, because a lot of times it is. So if you don't know the laws hands down by the back of your hand, then that's okay. I didn't either for years. All right? So what I want you to do is really focus on what you know is right. All right? And what should be done. And if something just doesn't feel right, you're going to know. All right. It's going to piss you off. You're going to get that anxiety. You're going to get mad. You're going to be angry at their response. Test that. Say, that's not true. I don't know how you can say that because that's not accurate. Just say something like that. And say, and you need to provide this for my child because you can't provide the assessment. So this is what needs to be done. And if not, then we can go do other measures. But, I'd appreciate it if you can get this done. And it's unfortunate, just play the game, guys. It's unfortunate that so many people are being sued because compensatory services aren't being given, and go on and on and on. The more you run your mouth about it, the more you're going to get services for your child. The more you're going to get for your child. You got to run your mouth. You got to keep talking. You got to keep that conversation going and let them know that you are not going to back down. All right? They want you to back down. They want you to just smooth on down and run away because they overpowered you. No! You keep it moving. You keep it going. All right? Don't be worried about you're being too aggressive or you're being this or that. All right? I'm told that all the time. I was in an IEP meeting, and what did they call me? They said I was bombarding them or something like that. And what it was is I wasn't backing down on asking a certain question. They didn't like that I would not give up that question. I kept asking, you haven't answered my question. I'm going to sit here and wait until you answer my question. And she didn't answer it. I said, you need to answer my question. I kept saying it because she wouldn't answer the question. And so the director of special, well, you're bombarding my staff. I said, well, if I'm bombarding your staff, why don't you explain to your staff that they need to answer my question? And so you can't give up, okay? And I know that I am an aggressor. And in an IEP meeting, I become somebody that I don't even know sometimes because I'm in that fight mode, all right? Of I'm going to do whatever it takes so that this child gets what they need, whether it's my child or somebody else's child, one of my clients' child. I don't care. It's about getting them what they need, all right? Now, with the parent, I'm honest and I let you guys know, okay, this is a little unreasonable or this is good or I would go after this, what do you think? We bounce things off of each other. And there's situations where, I'm dealing with some behavior students and, the behavior is pretty extensive. And, I'm in my mind trying to figure out, okay, is this even the right placement for him? But at the end of the day, not only do I have to figure out, is this the right placement? Because I'm the one advocating for them. So I'm thinking, okay, is this the right placement? And then on top of it is, what do I need to do for this school system to get back on the ball, and stop dropping the ball so that this student can get the proper education that they deserve, So I kind of intermix everything that I do. And it's very, very intrusive into my clients' lives. And, there's questions I have to ask and, but then once you get me in the IEP, it's entertaining. All right. So I'm going to get to y'all's questions. Give me one more second. Let me just finish this up. I only have a couple more. All right. So, the agency issued a series of guidance documents designed to help the schools. We just finished talking about that. And for unprecedented circumstances. So the school system is getting some leniency in regards to certain things as in regards to timeframes. All right. And school districts are encouraged to collaborate more with parents. Are they? Some. Should they more? Yes. They're realizing that they need to get onto this, and that if they don't, that a lot of things are going to happen as a result. And it's the parents that are advocating and not giving up that are getting their kids exactly what they need. So I want you guys to do this. All right. I want you to, if you have an IEP coming up, I want you to write down everything that's important to you. Everything. Leave nothing out. All right. Write down everything that's important and everything that you require your child to have. I want you to write that on one paper. Then on another piece of paper, I want you to write down all the things that are on that other paper that you'd be willing to be flexible on. And then write down what you'd be willing to be flexible on. Let me give you an example. So if you said that you wanted your child to have 3 times a week speech therapy at 45 minutes, would you be flexible on 3 times a week at 30 minutes? Or would you be flexible on 2 times a week at 45 minutes? So think about that and really think about what it is you're comfortable with. Don't think about, oh, okay, I'll give in to this. No, look at, okay, this is what I want. This is what I'd be really comfortable with if I had to give up something. Because sometimes if you give up a little, then you can get all those other things. So sometimes you got to play that and then go back after that other thing later. But I don't try to do that too much. And I'm very picky on what I do it with. So you have to kind of put things in different baskets. So once you write down everything you want, write down everything you'd be willing to play with, and then write down everything that you're not willing to compromise on at all. This is happening no matter what. Okay? So you have everything you want. You have everything that you're willing to possibly compromise on. And you have everything that you're not willing to play with at all. All right? And then you need to figure out how you're going to go after each and every one. By what type of objective data do you have to support each and everything on that first paper? And the last one. The middle one is your playing ground. So you have what you want, you have what you are willing to flex on, and you have what you're not willing to move on. So you need to be able to dissect each and every one of those items, and you need to be able to have objective data to support each and every one. Even if you have to think outside the box. I think outside the box all the time. I'll use something that a parent told me days ago in reference to something that was just said in an IEP. Because it'll pop in my head and I immediately have that comeback because it'll bring something to light. So when you know your child or a situation so well, when something comes out of a service provider or an administrator or somebody's mouth that is contradictory or not what you're wanting to hear, then you need to have that comeback really quick. And the way to do that is to write everything down. Create your plan. Think about, here's your fourth piece of paper. Think about what is the school going to say about each of those two pieces of paper that talk about one, what you want, and the other one of what you're not willing to flex on. What will their argument be? Think about that in advance. If you know what their argument's going to be, you have a quick rebuttal and you have a quicker response to where you can advocate appropriately for your child. You have to have it laid out in front of you. You have to think about every single one of those things that are important to you. And you have to think about what is it the school's going to say in their no. Why are they going to say no? Have the answer for their no. If they're going to say no because, oh, we don't have the staff for that or whatever it's going to be, you know your team better than me. I just know a lot of the common things that are said. So you need to have that rebuttal right away to come out and say, oh, I've already solved that problem. Here's what I have thought. All right. So if you give, okay, well, this is what I want 3 times a week, speech 4 times, 45 minutes, whatever. All right. And they say, well, no, we can't do that because we don't have the staff for that. Or, we need to, really look at the present levels, blah, blah, blah. Right. So then your rebuttal is going to be, I already thought about that. We need to do an evaluation for my child because you haven't seen them for 6 months. And that's really important. So I agree with you that we don't know the present levels. That's actually very accurate. And so we need to do an evaluation so that we do know together as a team those present levels. The next thing you want to do is you want to say, and speech is needed because we've had 6 months of nothing and my child has regressed. And as you know, this is how you're going to say it. As you know, you're automatically assuming that they know this. This is actually a way to put them in a good mood versus putting the you, which is accusatory. You're saying, as you know, you haven't seen my child in 6 months. And I know that you guys are so supportive. And I know that you want to do what is necessary for my child and his individual needs. I know you want to do that. And the way to do that is to understand that I'm the one who has the data now, which I know you know that because you have kids of your own. And so I would appreciate you accepting me as part of this team and adequately participating, keyword, and allowing me to let you know what my child's present levels are currently, how he's regressed, because I'm the only one who knows. And in reference to OSEP, they've referenced that with the school systems, but most school systems are really jumping on the ball and understanding that. A lot of that was just bullshit, okay? But you're feathering them, guys. You're saying, I know you know this. What does that do to a person? It makes them feel smart. When you say, I know you care about my child. You don't know if they care about your child, but you're saying it. It's not a negative thing, all right? So it's kind of like reverse psychology, all right? You have to put words out of your mouth that are going to put them into a position that is not offended. You don't want to offend them out the gate. Now, I will offend them, all right? But I know how to do that now. I know how to play that part. If you're new, the way to go about it is to use that reverse psychology of, I know you know this. I know you care about my child. I understand that you guys have done the very best you can and blah, 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 blah. Okay? So you're buttering them to give you what you want so that your child's needs are met. It's one of those things where as parents, we will do whatever it takes, even have shit come out of our mouths so that our kids get what they want. At the end of the day, what's important? Them getting what they want. All right? And what they need. And what is appropriate for them, individualized, unique for their needs. And that is so important. All right? So it's not like, I don't know. It's not like playing games as in like a negative thing. But the problem is they play games with us all the time. It's a game when it's a form of, it's a business psychological way of doing things when, and that's one part of the CEO that I think is so important is business courses teach you, all right, I have my bachelor's in business, and it teaches you ways in which to get what you want out of a client. All right. And school systems do training in this. They train teachers to not email and to call the parent. Not all school systems, but a lot do. And they're told to not say certain things. I just read an email, guys, that said, all right, that literally said, and I caught this and it was very interesting, that literally said a teacher wanted to give the parent the information that she wanted. All right. The parent had asked for data and some other things, and the teacher wanted to give it to the parent. So, and the parent had asked, what the qualifications were and, could she provide those qualifications and the certification, which is a parent's right. And the teacher emailed the, not the director of special ed, but someone kind of right below her, like the supervisor. And do you know what the supervisor's response was? Why would you ever offer to give a parent information in regards to certification? Why would you offer that? I'm going to put you in touch with the principal and please no longer speak with this parent about this matter. That's what the email said. No kidding. Not kidding at all. I will block the names out of this email and show you guys. That is the crap that goes on. So when I hear these types of things that are going on, it infuriates me because it's wrong. And yet us parents, look like the negative nannies, if you will, because we're dealing with these games that are being played with us and we're way past frustrated. And it looks like we're against teachers and we're against that. I know I probably sound like that, but I'm not against teachers at all. But I am against the administration that controls teachers. I am against the principals that act like that, certain things shouldn't be provided to parents. I am against administrators and principals and higher ups that, speak negatively in regards to certain things that parents have a right to know. I have a problem with that, and it happens all the time. So you guys need to just stay on top of it. Don't give up. Today is all about getting your IEPs together for this year. All right. Many IEPs are coming up. All right. A lot of them happened over the summer. But what I want for you is for you to fight for your children. Do not accept some of these things that I'm reading here. All right. And I'm going to go through that in a second. Do not accept 3 days a week. Speech says 5 days a week, but they said they'd only give 3. No, it doesn't work like that at all. Okay, I'm still laughing. I have one frown face. Maybe it was somebody who got really pissed off at me. I'm still laughing at that. It looks like a funny little red face. Do you guys see it? It's this circle red face with eyes that go out like that. And okay, all right. I laugh at stuff like that. All right, so it's kind of crazy, how someone moved to a new state and a new school system, and all of a sudden their kid isn't getting everything that they got before. How's that right? This new school doesn't know this child. These are the things that are happening today and should not be happening. IDEA has not changed. Services should not be taken. And this is especially not the time to take services because no school system person knows where your child is right now. They have no idea, no clue. They have not seen your child in a half a year. They have no idea what your child's present levels are. They have no ideas what those goals should be. They're just going off the old goals because they have no idea. They're going off the old present levels because they have no idea. All right. But in fact, you guys can add to the present levels because you know where your child is right now. You are the one who has all that knowledge. So you make sure you put your stamp on that IEP and you make sure that they listen to you. And if they don't, flip it, guys, and say, okay, so what I'm hearing is that you're disregarding how I feel and what is right for my child because I'm the one who's been around for the last 6 months and you haven't seen my child in the last 6 months. So not only do you not know my child's present levels, you don't know what the goals should be, and you sure as heck don't know what services, accommodations, and modifications have all of a sudden come into play because you haven't seen my child in 6 months. So you're telling me that what I have to say isn't important? Those are the things that you should be saying. Fight back. Say something back to them. Okay? Talk back. This is the time to talk back. All right? Your mom's not going to get mad at you. All right? You guys can talk back. That's what I want you to do is talk back. Give them some sass. All right? All right. Let me see. Yes, Devos. Yes. Eden, Pennsylvania, Renata says. Melissa says, I'm in Columbus City School, Columbus, Ohio. Okay. How's that in Columbus, Ohio? Is it a good school system? Liz says, they did this to me in New York. Oh, I love New York City. New York is a fun one. Yes, Bethany says Betsy Davis. Yes. I had a special education director hang up on me recently. I had emailed her back and said, thank you for hanging up on me. However, this is what I was trying to say. And then I would CC the superintendent. Validation of feelings. They teach customer service reps that to de-escalate angry customers. I never learned that skill. Yeah, it's actually very effective. I've kind of gotten away from it in IEP meetings just because I just get pissed off because I see through what they're doing. So for someone that is inexperienced and is learning, I highly recommend doing that. All right. I know you know. I know how much you care about my child. You guys have done a good job, but this is what needs to, you know, actually, I wouldn't even say but. You've done a good job, and this is what needs to change. Use and, not but. Um, and basically, you're giving them something to bring them back around to you. Does that make sense? So it's kind of like this washing machine. But yeah, so you're buttering them to get them what you need, you know? Um, she knows what she's saying. I watched an hour turnaround from ignoring to here is a meeting date. Yeah, Cynthia. Um, Thank you, Raven. You're welcome, Melissa. 100% agree. I was ignored when I was having issues with my son's IEP until I CC'd the superintendent. Next day, they're emailing me with a meeting time. Shouldn't be this way, but it is. I've heard a lot to not give up and until I get with. Yep. Marie says, hi. No transition services in my granddaughter's IEP. How old is she? What is an IEE? An IEE is an independent education evaluation. So it's the same type of evaluation that you get, well, not always, in the school system. So you can get a psychoeducational, you can get a CTOP 2, you can get a CLEF 5, you can get a WIAT. You can get all the different type of assessments, and they're just of your choosing of who you want to go to on the outside versus the school system doing it. Okay. Can you please post a link to the letter from OSEP? Bethany, Janice, thanks. I will email the director of special ed. Yes, I just said that. What an IE is. Yeah, sometimes you can I act dumb a lot. But it's more in the questions I ask. And then I come back with something so they obviously know I'm not dumb, but you know. You can act dumb in the sense of getting the information that you need because you need the information. But really, it's not acting dumb. It's just acting as if you don't know. And sometimes I just act like I don't know, even though I'm just asking questions that I want them to answer and continue to keep answering. So, you know, sometimes people, this sounds bad. People like helping people, all right, if they feel like they know more, all right, especially in that arena. So if you act like you just don't know and you're asking questions, people feel more in wanting to help. Oh, let me offer this information to you. Does that make sense? Nan says, I meant something doesn't sound right. Act dumb by asking them to show you the policy. Yeah, or just keep asking questions, you know. Kim says, the school I have had to give me a restraining order for my child that just graduated high school. I was too aggressive, I guess. And I thought I was aggressive, but I've never had a restraining order. Holy hell, what'd you do? Yes, the school system is not your friend. They just try to skate by with the minimal things. I'm learning that right now. Yeah, I mean, I'll never forget, you know, what I was told by my own child who's a teacher, which is, Mom, teachers have to put things that aren't important in notes and progress reports and report cards because what else are they going to do? They don't have the time to do it all. Too much is put on their plate. That came from my own child's mouth, who is a teacher in Northern Virginia. So, and we were going back and forth about what I do. You know, she was saying, you know, Mom, you know, you can't put everything on the teachers. It's not the teacher's fault. It's not this, because she's a teacher, you know. You can't just keep putting it all on teachers' faults. Is that it's their issue. It's not our issue. We can't do it all. We're only one person. I said, oh, okay, so what's your suggestion? And she said, because she and I can get into it. All right, so she's 24, and her and I both have, you know, those personalities where I'm like, okay, give me a solution. I have to advocate for my child. You're the teacher. You're saying that you can't do it all. What's the solution? And she said, it's the administrators. We are told to do XYZ. They're the ones who put everything on our plates, and we're just trying to do it all. I said, okay, so that's not my problem. As a parent, I understand the teacher side. I do. But as a parent, that comes first. And this is what I'm explaining to her. That comes first. And I can't worry about what's on somebody else's plate. What's on my plate is my child and my child's education. I can't worry about the teacher, even though I feel bad that everything's put on their plate. That's not my problem. Does that make sense? So I'm not trying to be a bitch. I'm really not. So if there's any teachers out there listening to me, I'm not trying to be a bitch. I get that school systems are on your butts. They tell you to do these things and you have to do them, and the administrators, and you have all this stuff on your plate and you're just trying to swim and trying to keep up. I get it. But on another end of the spectrum, you have parents who are just trying to get what's needed and appropriate for their child. That's it. That's all we want. And if that's not provided, we're willing to fight. And that's where all of this stuff happens. And all the educators and education side is put over here. And then the parents are over here. And it shouldn't be like that. So, that's the problem, in today's society. And that's unfortunate, because it makes teachers look bad when it's really not the teacher's fault. And, I'm not saying that there aren't bad teachers out there, but typically it's not the teacher's fault. And then we have administrators that are telling the teachers what to do and causing the problems. Just like this one teacher that I was telling you about, the email that I read. She wanted to do the right thing. Then she was told not to. Why? That's what I want to know. I'm going to ask in the IEP meeting on Wednesday. I'm going to ask, why the hell would you say this? Why would you tell this teacher not to provide information to the parent that is her right to have? I want to know why. And they're not going to skate around it. I want an answer. I want to know why. Why would you discourage this teacher from giving the parent what she has a right to have? Explain that to me. And actually tell her to not talk to the parent anymore about it. To that extent, So the email was transpired between the teacher and, this person. And then this person just negating anything that the teacher really wanted to say. Whatever. All right. Okay, guys. I think we've been on here about an hour. Yeah, hour and 20 minutes. Holy hell. Okay. Who'd you look to see who it was? Cynthia, what are you talking about? So hopefully I answered your question, Myrna, of what an IEE is. And I think somebody else asked that too. Tracy says CTOP scores, should they have increased with the correct remediation? Of course, they should have. Thanks, Yasmin. Any assessment given, all right, you want to compare them. Okay, so Tracy, you want to take the CTOP scores from 2017, 18, whenever it was given, and compare it to today, what was done today. Has that child progressed? If they haven't, why? Okay? Always why. Why are goals repeating themselves? Why are there no present levels? Why are goals not measurable? Why are goals staying the same? Why are assessments not improving? You need to get to the why. Not, because of his disability, I don't know why I keep saying he. So he or she, because of the disability, they just learn slow, or blah, 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 blah. All the stuff that comes out. Bottom line, I don't care what your child has. I don't care what disability it is. Each child can learn. So it's the school's job to make sure that they learn. Okay? And that is it. All right? Children with certain disabilities can learn. It's not that they can't in the school system. The problem is how they're taught. So if they're taught appropriately to meet their needs, their individual needs, then bingo, we're going to have a solution to the problem of why they're not learning or progressing or anything else for that matter. One thing I'm going to say before I jump off here, no, 2014 to 2020, no progress. Okay, well, that's a denial of faith. Hands down, done. What I want to tell you before I jump off here that I've seen across the board, it's happened actually 3 times in the last week, is pay attention to what you sign when you are signing for an assessment to be given. I'm going to say that again. Pay attention to what you sign when you sign for an assessment to be given. All right? And what I mean by that is make sure that it says a comprehensive psychoeducational. Then make sure it's broken down into what segments and subtests that are going to be given. Period. Because this is what's going to happen. You're going to go, at the end of the day, you're going to want results of the assessment. If you don't actually get the test itself, you're not going to know what you're reading. That's number 1. Number 2, because all you're going to read is low, high, or numbers, or this or that. You'll see a graph, but you'll have no idea where the graph is coming from, where those numbers came from. All you low, medium, high, lower than low, average. What does that mean? Okay, so you have to see the assessment itself, the paper, the test itself. And don't let them tell you that it's copyrighted, because that's BS. All right, via FERPA, it says that that's a actual misunderstanding that school systems have, that they cannot give you the test itself because it's copyrighted. It is not copyrighted. Okay, you can see the assessment. All right, and if you can't see the assessment, then you can't read the results. You can't read what they give you. The evaluation results that you are given, you cannot understand without seeing the assessment that was given. Period. You won't know. You'll see a below average, average, and how are you going to measure if the student improved or didn't improve just because of low average, below average, above average, whatever, or some number. What's the number based off of? One thing that I dealt with today was they based off a number off the norm. The norm is of everybody in that grade level. Why would you be doing that? I want to know their independent level, not their norm. I don't care what the norm is. I'm not normal, so I don't care where normal is. I want to know what my child is doing. What level of reading is my child reading at? What level in math or grade level in math is my child at? I don't care what 50 other students are doing in 7th grade. I care about where my student is right now. Now, if your child is on 7th grade level and they're in 7th grade, okay, that's great. They're on grade level. You know what I mean? That's when it matters. But where it doesn't matter is if your child is 2, 3, 4, 5 years behind, and what is the norm going to do at that point? We're just trying to move up. Okay? So you want to know their individual level. You don't want to know the norm. Okay? The norm is what you want to know when they're at grade level, not way below. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. There was a sub teacher who was there past her legal 30 days and she was bullying my son, and he has never had, okay, so that's why you, yeah. Hi Faye, how are you? Tracy says, if I knew then what I know now. Yeah. All right, guys, we had a good talk today. I mean, I got a little ruffled up, but not much. I did good, right? I kept my cool for the most part. But no, seriously, hopefully you guys have a wonderful evening. It's late. I can't believe it's 10:11. My husband's probably going to bed, and then I'm going to get up, and I actually have to finish Yasmin's complaint, and then get that to her, and then send an email for a client, and then I'm going to go to bed. So that's my rest of the evening. So hopefully you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening. If you are interested at all in the services, accommodations, and modifications mini course, or if you're interested in the whole enchilada, which is Rock the IEP, it's a course that starts you from very beginning to the very end of the whole IEP process. And I teach you my PPPN system. Please let me know, and I can post below the links so that you can check them out. All right. So if you're interested, just PM me and let me know. And if you're interested in an IEP makeover or me attending your IEP, usually I think I've explained this where I take over your emails, I get everything going and get the things that you need to you, and then I go over everything with you and go through your IEP with a fine-tooth comb. And that's between 4 to 6 hours. And then we attend the IEP together and get your child what they need. So if that's something that you're interested in, I am booked until mid-August. So no, not mid-August. Sorry about that. Till about mid-September. So I'm taking people now to put them in the calendar. So I am taking people starting September. Let me tell you, because I've already gotten a couple messages. So I just wanted to let you guys know real quick. So I have availability starting September 16th. So it's a Wednesday. All right. So I am booked until then, but I have openings starting September 16th. So if you want to get on the books, and you can get on the books now, I still can do your emails and get everything together. But it's going to take time to get to the IEP anyway. So it could work out for many of you. So it's a good thing. Even if your IEP is in the beginning of September and we have to just extend it a week or two, that's fine. So let me know if you're interested in either of the courses or if you need me to be at the IEP with you and to go through your IEP to make sure that it's adequate, goals are written correctly, and things are done right. All right. So I will talk to you guys soon. PM me if you need anything. You're welcome, Melissa. You're welcome. Both courses are amazing. I did the mini course, now through the large course now. That's awesome. I'm glad you like it, Kim. Myrna says, thanks, this has helped me a lot. You're welcome. Liz says, you're good. Thanks. Appreciate it. It's a great mini course. I recommend it. Awesome. Okay. So I will see you guys soon. Sorry, it's been like an hour and 27 minutes. That's a long time. So Thursday night, I will be a lot less. Okay. I won't kill y'all on Thursday with content. Tomorrow night, I will be live over on my group, and that's our Q&A. So if you're not members of the group, it's Autism Mama Rocks the IEP group. Just stick that in the search bar and come check it out. And tomorrow night around 8 o'clock, I will do a Q&A for about an hour, hour and a half. And that's a lot of fun. So it's very chill. Typically, I'm in my bed and I just answer y'all's questions. All right. And it's a fun time, and we do some trivia and that sort of thing. So it's cool. All right, guys. So have a good night, and I will talk to you tomorrow if you're over on the group and you're going to enjoy the Q&A with us, because that's lots of fun. If not, I'll see you guys on Thursday. Have a good night. Bye-bye.